Good afternoon and welcome to the news at noon on Ayekooto 88.3fm in Washington State. I'm Amina Imran. The highlights of the news. Federal government scraps mother tongue as teaching language in primary schools. Moving outside the country, G7 foreign ministers support Trump's plan to end Gaza war hedge unrestricted aid. And on business news, National Assembly approves Tinubu 1.15 trillion naira domestic loan proposal. And on sports, Osimhen Super League's most valuable player. Details in a moment. The federal government has reversed its 2022 national language policy, which stipulated that the language of instruction from early childhood to primary 6 should be the mother tongue or the language of the medical community. Speaking on Wednesday in Abuja, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausi, said English will now be the language of instruction in Nigerian schools from primary through tertiary levels. Alausi, who spoke at the opening of the Language in Education International Conference 2025, organized by the British Council, said Nigerian children have been performing poorly in public examinations because they were taught in the mother tongue. Citing evidence-based data-driven research by his ministry, he said the policy had destroyed the education system as pupils and students often advance to higher classes without learning essential skills. Alausi explained the practical challenges posed by Nigerians' linguistic diversity. The Lagos State government has announced that road rehabilitation works will commence on the Lekki-Ajah corridor from Saturday, November 15, 2025, and will run through Wednesday, July 17, 2026, a period of 8 months. According to a statement signed by the Lagos State Commissioner for Transportation, Mr. Oluwaseun Osiyemi, shared on his X on Wednesday, the project aims to improve road quality and ease traffic flow among one of the state's busiest roads. Osiyemi explained that the rehabilitation will be executed in 2 phases to minimize inconvenience for commuters and businesses along the corridor, with preliminary works already in progress. Public affairs analysts advise government to complete projects in Najiwala for economic development. Government at all levels have been advised to encourage farmers through provisions of good roads, subsidized fertilizers, and mechanized farming. Christopher Adebayo of Monisola Agri Nigeria Limited, Ayedire local government of Osun State, gave this advice yesterday, November 12, 2025, while featuring on Ayekooto 88.3fm's News and Current Affairs on Roton Law. Honorable Adegbita urged Governor Ademola Adeleke to complete the shockwave by the road project and give palliatives to the real farmers, to caution the fight of financial loss faced by the farmers this season, especially after the importation of food items that pushed down the price in the market. Also speaking on the program, the Chief Executive Officer, Munisola Agri Nigeria Limited, Ikoyi, Ayedire local government, Osun State, Reverend Christopher Adebayo, emphasized the need for the state government to build silos to store perishable items like tomatoes and others to prevent loss. Both of them urged Senator Lere Oyewumi and Honorable Lukman Mudasiru to mount pressure on the National Assembly and complete abandoned road projects like Olukman-Oyo Road as well as the Wokuta-Ikoyi-Ede roads to boost economic activities in the concerned communities. During his contribution, another farmer, Eda Zulukorinaino Pakunle Fesu Osun State, lamented the insincerity of the government in giving loans to the right people in the agricultural sector, while another caller from Ojo area, Ibadan, Oyo State, called on Governor Seyi Makinde to make use of arable land in the state for mechanized farming through partnership with International Institute of Tropical Agriculture for bountiful harvest in Oyo State. They, however, urge the political leaders to always give priority to agriculture for rapid national development. And now to the entertainment, now to the foreign scene. Top diplomats from the group of seven G7 nations have issued a joint statement strongly endorsing the U.S. President's plan to end the war in Gaza. According to the reports today, meeting in Canada's Niagara region, the ministers reiterated their strong support for the plan and welcomed the ongoing ceasefire and the recent release of captives. The G7 officials tried the urgency of returning the remains of the seized captives and welcomed the increased flow of aid into the territory. However, they expressed concern about restrictions that remain in place on humanitarian assistance. Meanwhile, Palestinians in the occupied West Bank have staged a protest after being forced from their homes by the Israeli army. This is according to the reports earlier today. Since January, Israel has declared several refugee camps closed military areas. Soldiers are threatening to fire at those who try to re-enter. The move has forced more than 32,000 Palestinians out of their homes in the last 10 months. President Donald Trump has signed legislative finding the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, hours after the House of Representatives voted to restart disrupted food assistance, pay hundreds of thousands of federal workers, and revive a hobbled air traffic control system. The president made the signature on Wednesday as the Republican-controlled chamber passed the package by a vote of 222 to 209, with Trump's support largely keeping his party together in the face of vehement opposition from House Democrats, who are angry that a long standoff launched by the Senate colleagues failed to secure a deal to extend federal health insurance subsidies. Trump's signature on the bill, which cleared the Senate earlier in the week, will bring federal workers idled by the 43 days shut down back to their jobs, starting as early as today, although just how quickly full government services and operations will resume is unclear. And now to the business world. The National Assembly has approved President Bola Tinubu's request to borrow 1.15 trillion naira from the domestic debt market to finance the 2025 budget deficit, completing the government fiscal funding plan. The approval was made on Wednesday as both the Senate and the House of Representatives approved the president's request to raise 1.15 trillion naira from the domestic debt market to finance the remaining shortfall in the 2025 national budget. At the Senate, the approval followed the consideration and adoption of a report presented by the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debt during plenary. The committee chaired the Senator Wamako Magatarkada Aliyu, APC Sokoto North, explained that the 2025 Appropriation Act provides for total expenditure of 59.99 trillion naira, an increase of 5.25 trillion naira from the initial 54.74 trillion naira proposed by the executive. This expansion, the committee said, created a total budget deficit of 14.10 trillion naira, out of which 12.95 trillion naira had already been approved by borrowing. The newly approved 1.15 trillion naira, representing the unfunded portion, will now complete the government's deficit financing plan for the fiscal year. And now to the sports. Galatasaray president Darson Uzbek believes Victor Osimhen is the most valuable player in the Turkish Super League after the Nigerian was tagged €150 million player in the wake of new transfer speculations. After a successful on spell last season, Osimhen arrived at Galatasaray from Napoli on a permanent deal for €75 million in the summer, setting the record for the most expensive transfer in the country's history. Months into his switch, the 26-year-old is generating transfer interest again with the likes of Chelsea, PSG, Manchester United, and Barcelona said to be monitoring him ahead of the January transfer window. This season, Osimhen has 9 goals in 12 games across all competitions, including a hat-trick against Ajax in the UEFA Champions League. Before the recap of the major stories, listen to this important information from Ayekooto 88.3fm. Dear listeners, Nigeria is a diverse country with people of different faiths and cultures. Let's allow diversity as a strength and not as a weakness. Let there be unity in our diversity. Now the recap of the major stories. The federal government revised its 2022 national language policy, which stipulated that the language of instruction from early childhood to primary 6 should be the mother tongue or the language of the immediate community. Speaking on Wednesday in Abuja, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, said English will now be the language of instruction in Nigerian schools from primary through tertiary levels. Moving outside the country, top diplomats from the group of 7 nations issued a joint statement strongly endorsing the U.S. president's plan to end the war in Gaza. And on business news, the National Assembly on Wednesday approved President Bola Tinubu's request to borrow 1.15 trillion naira from the domestic debt market to finance the 2025 budget deficit, completing the government's fiscal funding plan. And on sports, Galatasaray president Darson Uzbek believes Victor Osimhen is the most valuable player in the Turkish Super League after the Nigerian was tagged a €150 million player in the wake of new transfer speculations. That's in the news at noon on Ayekooto 88.3fm in Washington State, as compiled by Amina Imran and edited by Dauda Ahmed. Funny news reports in your area of vicinity. You can call us on these numbers 081-4626-9214 or 005-680-9814. I'm Amina Imran. Good afternoon and thanks for listening.
Ayekooto 88.3fm.
Ayekooto 88.3fm. Ọ̀gá ni master.
Ayekooto.
Ayekooto 88.3fm. Ayekooto.
Ayekooto FM 88.3 Ìwó, Ọ̀ṣun State, Nigeria.
Ẹ tẹ́tí lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ àsìkò ìròyìn ti yá. Ẹ wá ń kan fìdílé kájọgbọ́n ohun tó lọ ní dúníà. Fẹ́lifẹ́li ìgbẹ́ òní bó ti ń ṣẹlẹ̀ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ 88.3 Ayekooto lẹ́tí ń gbọ́. Ayekooto 88.3 má yí kúrò kétékété ló ń dún bí àrá.
Ẹ káàsán o, Akin ẹ̀kú iṣẹ́ ṣọ̀wọ́ ṣẹ́yà. Ìròyìn ọ̀sán ló ń dé sétí gbọ́yìn nílé iṣẹ́ rédíò Ayekooto 88.3 FM tó kalẹ̀ sílùú Ìwó ìpínlẹ̀ Ọ̀ṣun lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà. Abdulwasin Abdulrauf lóníròyìn. Ṣáájú ẹgbọ́ àwọn kókó tó ṣúyọ nínú ìròyìn náà. Lábala ìròyìn orílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà, ìjọba àpapọ̀ ilẹ̀ ti fòfin lélẹ̀ pé kò sígbà láàyè mọ́ láti máa fi èdè míì kọ́mọ lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ nílé ẹ̀kọ́ àfi èdè Gẹ̀ẹ́sì nìkan. Lábala ìròyìn ilẹ̀ òkèèrè, àwọn mínísítà 7 láwọn orílẹ̀‐èdè